How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today, if you're watching this video around the time it comes out, Halloween should be just approaching. I think this is going up on the 30th, and tomorrow will be Halloween, and I say this whenever I do pictures tied to events. I can't believe how quickly the time goes. It is Halloween already. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about Halloween from 2007, the Rob Zombie remake, and just for the sake of clarity, I am talking about the director's cut. I know the theatrical cut was a little different. I'm just always a sucker for the longer versions of movies. Anyway, this was written and directed by Rob Zombie and stars Scout Taylor Compton, Malcom McDowell, and of course, Sheri Moon Zombie. But in addition to that, there is a ton of famous faces from horror movies in here. Like, reading through the credits, I spotted most of them, but it was just kind of surprising to see how many famous faces are in here. We obviously have Brad Dourif, Chucky himself. Danny Trejo is in here. We also get Bill Moseley, Sid Haig, Clint Howard, the Ice Cream Man, Dee Wallace, Ken Forhey, but the biggest and most obvious famous face, Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris, a scream queen, but also the little girl from Halloween 4 and 5. That's really cool. It is kind of weird if you watch these all at once in like a marathon, that all of a sudden, the girl from just a few movies ago is all grown up now. That is kind of weird to see. But anyway, yeah, tons of famous horror people in this movie, which I think is really cool. But anyway, I guess let's dive into it. What everybody talks about with this movie is just how controversial it is, love it, hate it, somewhere in between. So many fiery debates about this movie. And to be honest, the first time I saw it as well, I wasn't a huge fan of it. It really is different. But I guess that is the thing, It is different, but it kind of had to be. I'm not really a fan of changing things just for the sake of changing them. And to be a franchise, you have to have somewhat of a consistent feel, which does make it hard to surprise people in later entries of a franchise without feeling like you abandon it. But you had to do something different. The idea of remaking Halloween, just right off the bat, that's a crazy idea. Halloween is one of the perfect horror films. What would you do, And I think one of the things that helped me come around to this movie over time was watching Zombie's other stuff, because this was the first Rob Zombie film I saw, so the tone really did shock me, and I would recommend, if you haven't seen any of Rob Zombie's other stuff, at least go out and watch House of a Thousand Corpses so you know what to expect. But having watched other of Rob Zombie's movies after this, getting a feel of his tone and his style, and then going into this, it really does make it feel like this is what happened for Halloween in the Rob Zombie universe, This makes it feel much more like a parallel universe story. Now, that being said, Zombie would have been a much better fit for a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and in fact, there are a few scenes, like the pulled back through a door scene from Chainsaw, that is actually in this movie. So, it really would have been much better if he did the remake of Chainsaw, and then we wouldn't have got that terrible Michael Bay movie. But for what it is, I think it's cool. You just gotta be in the right mood, because this isn't the standard Halloween feel, Halloween, it's a slasher movie, and there is some blood in the later entries of the franchise and stuff. But I think, something about the cinematic minimalism of the first movie, something about having, Donald Pleasance bringing a sense of class to it, Halloween was always, a slasher, but it felt a little bit more suave than the other slashers. So going this far into zombie style, it is kind of jarring, so I think looking at this as a Halloween movie, it's not as good, but looking at this as a zombie movie, it is a lot better, so that may be kind of a weird thing to say, but definitely you got to go into this movie feeling like it is an alternate universe Halloween movie, and you gotta to learn to see it through that lens, or you're not even gonna be able to get off the ground floor. Another thing though, besides the style, is the pacing. First Halloween movie, one long shot, and you get the setup for Michael Myers. And again, zombie wanting to do something different, the first half of this movie is telling a serial killer origin story. And to be fair, looking at this in its own lens, it is an interesting serial killer origin story. But that being said, when we want to get to the Halloween stuff, it does kind of feel like it drags out. Again, director's cut, it's about a 2-hour movie, and about the first hour is young Michael Myers, and then young Michael Myers in the asylum, and then grown-up Michael Myers breaking out of prison, or asylum rather. And it does kind of, when you're going, okay, I want to get to the Halloween remake section, this whole opening part does kind of feel like it drags on, to the point where I think maybe it would have been better if this was just Halloween Origins, and the whole movie was just young Michael Myers. Then we wouldn't be going, come on, get to the Halloween stuff, So yeah, if you're looking for that, it does go kind of slow, but as its own thing, serial killer origin story, it is interesting enough, but yeah, it does break a lot of the formula, especially because the original movie's pitch was, we don't know who or why Michael Myers did anything, So explaining it definitely takes this universe down its own path. So again, another thing you got to be ready for going into it. But I think overall, if you can manage to take this movie for what it is, think of it as its own entity, think of it more as a Rob Zombie movie than a Halloween movie, there is some interesting stuff. It does try to do its own thing, because really, this movie could have just been a lame, forgettable rehash of the first. Anyone remember the remake of The Fog? No one does. And even though you hate it, you probably remember the remake of Halloween. So yeah, if we can take it for what it is interesting, and when we get to the end, even though it's not the smooth, cold, and calculated Michael Myers, in fact, it's more like angry, tough guy Jason towards the end, Rob Zombie's Friday the 13th would be interesting. But even though it's not the cold Michael Myers and it's an angry, smash through doors Michael Myers, I can't lie, it is pretty fun, So, yeah, know what it is, know it's got that Rob Zombie grunge, and I would say watch other Rob Zombie films first if you haven't seen any of his stuff, just to know what you're getting yourself in for. Check out House of a Thousand Corpses, check out Devil's Rejects, understand what he's going for as a filmmaker, Anyway, without further ado, I do want to analyze this a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, so I'll be avoiding the end, but I do want to analyze it, especially some things that happen in that first half of the movie. Anyway, open up. Young Michael Myers, he's wearing a vintage clown mask. It's still a clown, but different from the '78 mask. But he's wearing a clown mask, and he has a pet, and we get a sense of his home life. His father, or maybe stepfather, I'm not sure, his father is really, really abusive and makes the whole house a living hell, yells at his kids, teases them, and also isn't working because of an injury, so doesn't really help out any. And young Michael Myers, getting bullied in this way, is starting to turn to animal abuse, which thankfully is predominantly off camera. But yeah, you want to talk about real world serial killer stuff. If you see a kid being mean to animals, watch that kid. Anyway, we also get a sense of his school life, and much like his home life, there are bullies. These bullies will start to antagonize him. We get this scene where they they're bullying him in a bathroom, and I believe it's the principal walks in, and Michael Myers has a rage spat and yells at the principal, and that will get his mother called on him. In a fit of frustration, Michael Myers runs out of the school and gets a shovel and goes after those bullies. Now, I do want to mention the kills when Michael Myers is young. They do a good job of where you don't see him coming, because he's a little kid, and a lot of these people that he's going after should be able to beat Michael Myers. But when you don't see him coming, and then all of a sudden he goes after you, yeah, I can totally see him winning in that case. But anyway, after the bully, he goes home on Halloween night. No one knows that he's crossed that line, and as the night goes on, he will take out his abusive father, and Judith Myers and her boyfriend are there, much like the original, but this time around, the boyfriend has the Michael Myers mask, so that's where he gets it from. And yeah, young little Michael Myers does put on the Michael Myers mask when he's a kid. It ties it together thematically, but Tiny Myers does look hilarious, and maybe someone should have caught that early on, I don't know. Maybe kept him more in shadows or something. But anyway, his mom, Sheri Moon Zombie, does come, and we get the classic, Michael, what's going on here? But revamped and a little different. So yeah, that whole scene in the first Halloween, that was just one shot. Here we get a large chunk of the opening of the movie, and if you're wanting it just to get going, yeah, that can be a little frustrating. But then after that, we get another segment, the Asylum segment. We get Malcom McDowell, who I think is a pretty good choice for Loomis. He's analyzing Michael Myers, and we start to see him fade away, which again is different, because in the first one, once Michael Myers snapped, nothing out of him. And here, it's like he doesn't remember the killings, but he's starting to go slowly, so they do interviews and they do talk. And yeah, I don't know, not the biggest fan of the early therapy sequences. I think in the original, when Loomis says, I spent 7 years trying to save him and 8 making sure he was locked away, better that that's just in dialogue, because when we actually see it, and we see that he's not making any progress, it kind of does make Loomis seem more incompetent, because, you know, it's like, what is he doing? I don't see any actual progress happening. So yeah, when you're actually forced to look at it more, it's some, you know, cool lines of dialogue, but other than that, what progress is Loomis making here? But of course things get bad, Michael Myers gets quieter and quieter, and he starts to make masks, which I think is a pretty interesting idea. He's hidden his original mask away in the floorboards, and he's making a bunch of paper-mache masks, and his room is all covered with masks. I kind of like that aesthetic. But anyway, we jump 15 years into the future, and we get the escape from prison scene. And in this scene, there are these 2 evil orderlies, and there's a new girl, and they decide to sexually assault this new patient. And for some stupid reason, I guess they're wanting to taunt Michael Myers, they decide to do this in his room. Yeah, I mean, for any reason, I wouldn't want to go in the room of the really big, tall, muscular guy that's known for killing people, and, like, just to go in there to taunt him? No, don't go in that room. So, of course, as they proceed, Michael Myers will kill them both. Obviously. And kind of weirdly makes Michael Myers seem like a hero? I don't know. It's also worth noting that during the asylum scenes, we do get a performance from Danny Trejo as the one good orderly. It's a cool character to have, but he's not in the movie terribly much. Anyway, after that, Michael Myers is on the loose, and we get to the remake section of this movie. In the remake section of this movie, it's fine, but it does feel like, you know, we were getting all this new and different stuff, and then we get a relatively straightforward remake. There are a few other things. You know, we meet Laurie Strode again, and this time around, one of the first things she does is make a relatively crude joke to her mother. And yeah, I mean, okay, maybe in the original series, Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't as final girl as people remember her. I mean, she does smoke something in the very first movie, but still, you know, Laurie Strode set that archetype of what a final girl is, and final girls don't usually make crude sex jokes, so yeah, it is, again, a bit of a jarring thing to introduce to this character, but it's not too bad. Actually, in the modern suburban sections, Rob Zombie really tones down a lot of the style. You know, when you see Rob Zombie's style in the suburbs in the first half of the movie, and then you see Rob Zombie's style in the school, it really is a lot. It really is really crude, really grungy, and really mean. And a lot of Zombie's other movies, they're adults, and a lot of times they're criminals, and the style doesn't seem as off there. But when we see it in the first half of this movie, boy do you notice, and I am glad that he tones it down a little bit when we get to the second half, and we get, you know, these people talking and joking. It seems much more natural in the second half, you know, it is kind of overwhelming in the first, but they tone it down a bit until we get to the horror segments. But anyway, from there we know what's going to go on. Laurie Strode is going to drop off, well, it was a key the first time around, now it's papers at the Myers house. She's going to be babysitting, and Michael Myers will, of course, wreak havoc on her and her friends. And there is a few things to note with the new way they're doing this. One, it is quicker. The first movie, like the first half of the remake, is condensed to just the first little bit of the original movie. So in turn, there's a lot of slower build-up in the 78 Halloween. So all the bits with Laurie Strode and Michael Myers slowly stalking her and the feeling that something is up, I mean, it's good suspense, but having done that whole hour earlier, we really don't need it in the remake, so that is toned down. But then we get to the horror segments, and the first version of Michael Myers, the 78 version, it's almost like, I think I said, he doesn't move his head unless he thinks he has to. He's very stiff, very quiet, very calculating in 78. Here, not so much. This is a big, brooding Michael Myers. He literally bashes through doors, bashes through walls, just wrecks up the place. And it's a cool horror villain. Not really the Michael Myers we know. And again, I think I said it earlier, much more like one of the angry Jasons, you know? Much more like a Kane Hodder Jason than 78 Myers, right? But for what it is, you know, it's not as much like the first one. Cold and calculating, where are all our pieces, what babysitters are in what houses, where are the kids, how far away are they, where is Michael, who's dead, who's alive. The first one, again, much more calculating. Here, you know, like, I think 2 people get picked off before Halloween night even really begins, but much more going in, smashing things up, And yeah, again, not like the first one, but definitely if you want a good time just tearing through a house. Yeah, not the first one, but it is pretty fun, you know, getting to the end of this movie and just breaking things, you know? It's hard not to have a good time with that. So anyway, overall, I won't go further in the plot, I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, you gotta know what this movie is, getting into it. I definitely recommend watching at least A House of a Thousand Corpses first so that you get to know who Rob Zombie is and it's not just a quick shock, because yeah, you go through all the other movies on this and then you get to Rob Zombie's Halloween. It is very different. But if you know what it is, you get yourself ready and you just kind of accept something different. There is a lot of interesting ideas in here. Now, I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, and yeah, the first half does drag. It is really weird to see young Michael Myers talking, and yeah, things do play out really different. I'm not going to say those flaws aren't there, but again, look at this more of a Rob Zombie movie than a Halloween movie, and I think there is a bit to like here. Just try to have fun with it. But yeah, I know, it's not going to be what everybody wants, but I think if you haven't seen it yet, it's worth taking a look at it and seeing if it is for you. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Halloween franchise playlist. I've talked about the initial run of movies, I talked about the H2O run, and I've talked about the Blumhouse run. So I've covered everything so far except Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Don't know if I'll have time for that. I'll see what I can work out in the schedule. But anyway, lots more Halloween movie reviews there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Halloween playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.